Ahead tonight, 4 homicides in one day. Police investigating the latest killing in the Kemp Road area.
The Bahamas Union of Teachers president on the case and hits out several issues during the first week of school.
And the attack of the killer toad. It's a story you'll hear on just one station. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Police tonight investigating more bloodshed in the country. Good evening, I'm Kendino Knowles.
And good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings.
Well, last night authorities were called to the scene of another murder, the 11th in the last 12 days. This time, a father of 3 was tragically gunned down at White's Addition off Kemp Road, which has seemingly become a familiar spot for crime scene investigators who returned there for the 3rd time in the last few weeks. Andrew Knowles tells us that residents in that area say they are now living in fear.
Just hours after police began investigations into a murder on Wednesday, they were called here to the White's Addition, where a man was shot several times while sitting on this porch playing a game of dominoes.
A group of persons, we believe about 3 persons, in a dark-colored Honda vehicle drove up. 2 of the males in this vehicle exited and began discharging shot at the group of men that were playing dominoes, striking the victim multiple times about the body.
Those fatal shots claimed the life of 42-year-old Dion Johnson, the father of 3. Residents looked on in disbelief as Johnson's body was carried away from a blood-soaked porch, and crime scene investigators combed the scene yet again. Authorities say this is the 3rd murder in White's Addition in the last few weeks. However, Superintendent Roll could not say if there's a link.
It's still early in our investigation. The murder, I think, on Sunday night was just up the street, about 100 feet behind me. Okay, I don't know that there's any connectivity with both of those. But this community is pretty normally a quiet community, and so let us do the investigation and we'll see where it leads.
At the scene, the victim's sister, Kim Johnson, says despite some challenges, her brother was a respectable person.
He changed his life a lot. He have 3 sons, and he's pushed them and tried to tell them that gang violence, it don't worry it. He's talked to the young boys in the community. He have a cleaning company where he's cleaning people's yard and stuff. This is no gang matter. He might get a stray bullet, I don't know. But when you see dark for my brother's being, I don't know why he's hanging around so late.
The bloodshed in the area has left one resident who did not want to appear on camera in fear. The gunshots rang out just a stone's throw away from her front door.
I was in my bedroom sitting down, my baby run into my room. She said, "Mommy, I'm dreaming." So I said, "No, you're not dreaming." I had to get low because it's so close, because I'm right here and it's right there, and that's my neighbor. You know, it's too close for comfort. And it's getting rough. I just talked to my daughter in the States and I tell her I'm ready to come. It's my home, but I'm ready to leave.
Area Pastor Ivan Butler was also on the scene.
But what is absolutely necessary if we're going to win this war is that all hands come together and work together and do not cast blames on any one particular agency or group. It has to be a decision where everybody work together in order to alleviate some of these problems that we're having.
Now, unconfirmed reports indicated that another man may have been shot. However, Superintendent Roll has since denied those claims. Meantime, police are appealing for the public's assistance in bringing the culprits to justice. Andrew Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Detectives continuing their investigation into Wednesday's murder on Fowler Street. Police reported that sometime around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the victim was reportedly playing a game of backgammon with a group of men midway through Fowler Street when he reportedly got into an altercation with one of the men who allegedly fired several shots, hitting him and another man. Now, the victim died at the scene and the other, according to police, is detained in hospital. Fowler Street is the headquarters for the music makers Junkanoo Group, and officials tonight are concerned how the level of crime in this community is impacting the group's operation. In fact, Public Relations Officer Alfonso Albury claims it's creating a negative impact on new sponsorship and membership.
I just like the public and the members of the Junkanoo Group to be praying for the group and praying for the families of all these victims around the country, to for healing, for better days, for to stand up against the wrongness, that's afflicting our country, and the music maker does his part in trying to create a positive environment for these young men to be a member and to help out.
Take a good look at your TV screen. Police need your help tonight finding this man who is said to be armed and extremely dangerous. Superintendent Stephen Dean says police have hit a big break in a number of violent crimes as they have obtained a video clipping of a suspect who is a part of a group of men that have allegedly been terrorizing this island over the past months, particularly at night.
That if we should get these persons and him and his cohorts in custody, we will be able to solve a number of serious crimes that have been occurring in New Providence. We know that he is in New Providence. We know that persons know who he is, where he's hiding, where he's sleeping, wherever he is tonight. We are saying to members of the public, if you know his name, we want you to call us. If you know his address, we want you to call us. If you know his friends, we want you to call us. If you are his family members, his mother, father, brother, or sister, we are asking you to turn him in. The police need to see him. We need to get him off our streets. He is considered to be armed and extremely dangerous. We are saying to members of the public, please approach with caution. Do not approach this man. We want the man in custody. We are saying to the suspect, we know that he's watching. We are asking you to please turn yourself into police today.
The coroner's inquest in the custody death of 36-year-old Jamie Smith resumed today. However, the matter was adjourned to September 20th. At that time, Coroner Janine Weish Gomez will sum up the evidence in the case for jurors. Once that's done, she will hand the case over to the 5-member panel for a decision. You may recall that Smith was found dead in a cell at the Central Detective Unit back on February 8th. A pathologist found that he died from a lack of oxygen.
Well, in other court news, the appellate court has dismissed the appeal of convicted drug dealer Omar Chisholm. The 36-year-old father of 3 was hoping to have his 4-year sentence reduced significantly after being convicted back in April of possession of 7 pounds of marijuana with the intent to supply. Now, Chisholm's attorney, Mario Ducille, argued, among other things, that the sentence was harsh and excessive given the small amount of drugs. But the court couldn't get past the fact that Chisholm had been convicted earlier for a similar offense. Now, you may recall that Chisholm and 4 other men served time in prison earlier after being convicted in connection with an Exuma drug bust in 2009. During that incident, they were caught with over 900 pounds of marijuana, about $100,000 in cash, and a stolen speedboat. In the end, the court dismissed Chisholm's appeal and varied his sentence to 3 years and 7 months, taking into account the 5 months he's already spent in prison.
The Bahamas Union of Teachers is addressing several concerns as the union held meetings and toured various schools that are still facing several issues. Tonight, Cyan Thompson tells us that those issues include health and safety concerns at Stephen Dillett Primary School, Naomi Blatch Preschool, and Maurice Moore Primary School.
We will not be threatened. We will not be threatened. We are not afraid. We have rights.
BUT President Belinda Wilson telling us her team had a myriad of issues to address, chief among them health and safety concerns at Stephen Dillett Primary School, where union executives spent most of the day in meetings. The school, which has no windows, has been consistently faced with air-conditioned units not working. Parts of the school had been without AC, and Wilson said there are more problems added to that.
Their concerns have been concerns that we have expressed 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, and even earlier this year prior to school closing. They definitely have overcrowding. They have a shortage of teachers. There's termite and rodents, rats and rodents, and mold, and the air-conditioned units are not working properly, in parts of the school. So it's very difficult for them to perform their duties.
Meantime, though, Director of Education Lionel Sands told us that during his visit at Stephen Dillett 2 days ago, there were no such claims, but he did say that technicians are working on the problem and by Friday it is expected to be in operation. Wilson added that Stephen Dillett is overcrowded. However, Sands confirmed that there were no requests from the district superintendent or principal for additional teachers.
We want the air condition repaired. We want the termite issue dealt with, and we're going to give them until October. We are giving them until Monday to get at least 2 teachers there.
Wilson gave a rundown on work at Naomi Blatch Preschool.
We're really pleased to see the work that they're doing at Naomi Blatch. The principal will have a office and a staff room, and they've given actually restrooms for the teachers. However, we were of the view that the work at Naomi Blatch was completed, and we were concerned that the work is incomplete and it's a preschool.
Director of Education expects for Naomi Blatch to be completed by October. Wilson also claimed a teacher was victimized at Maurice Moore Primary School.
That teacher has beautified her room. She's spent her own funds for material and supplies. She's ready to teach. She's on the job to receive today a termination letter. We call it straight out victimization.
The Director of Education refuted that claim. Sands stated that contract teachers are only employed until the Ministry of Education finds suitable replacements of trained Bahamian teachers. Meantime, he indicated the teachers are hired to teach, and if they don't, there are consequences to face. For the ZNS Network News, I'm Cyan Thompson.
Well, still on education officials responding to the incident involving the Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson and her team, who were reportedly refused entry onto the Anatole Rogers School grounds on Wednesday afternoon. Director of Education Lionel Sands told ZNS News today that the union president made a request to the principal to hold a meeting with the teachers during lunchtime. It's a request, he says, was denied by the principal and pushed to after normal school hours. That's at 3 p.m. Mr. Sands noted that the principal felt the meeting would have not only obstructed students, but impede the daily operations of the school. The Director of Education also suggested that the union had ample time to meet with Anatole Rogers teachers who returned a week prior to the start of the new term. Well, with the start of a new school year, education officials were concerned about the buildup of trash at various school campuses earlier this week. It's a problem that officials from the Department of Environmental Health say they have been working hard to address. Our ZNS News team visited several school grounds today, and trash could still be seen spilling over many of the waste receptacles. Now, according to personnel from the Department of Environmental Health, for the most part, the volume of debris can be attributed to the construction work taking place at many of the schools. We understand that contractors are to arrange private collection of their waste, but in many cases that did not happen, resulting in the overflow of trash in many of the waste bins. We were also made to understand that several of the larger bins on the school's campuses were damaged, and many of them are in the process of being replaced. Schools were reportedly given smaller bins until the problem is fixed. Now, environmental health officials say everything should be back to normal with regular pickup by the end of the week. And although the beginning of the new school year officially started this past Monday, many students at all grade levels did not return to the classroom until today. This resulted in bumper-to-bumper traffic in many of the school zones and major thoroughfares across the island. Now, we got reports that many parents were on the roads before 6:30 this morning to beat the back-to-school rush. With many of the major road work completed, we got reports that many access areas were now opened for a smooth traffic flow. When our ZNS News team took to the streets around 8 o'clock this morning, traffic appeared to be moving smoothly, and police officers were also at many of the intersections to ensure the easy flow of traffic. Road traffic department officials are advising motorists, though, to be mindful of the speeding limits in school zones and to follow the rules of pedestrian crossings. Pedestrians are also reminded to walk with due care and attention.
Well, just for clarification, on our early broadcast this evening at 7:30, Prime Minister Perry Christie will be presenting a lecture on contemporary constitutionalism and the consent of the governed. It's preempting regularly scheduled programming. The Prime Minister's presentation will be carried live here on ZNS from the Governor's Ballroom at the British Colonial Hilton. The special presentation is part of the annual Dr. the Honorable Lloyd Barnett OJ Lecture Series hosted by the Council for Legal Education.
In our first look at weather, Tropical Depression Gabrielle barely hangs on to tropical storm status, and outside of our studios just now, we have partly cloudy skies. Your temperature 84 degrees, relative humidity 69%, winds out of the east-northeast at 7 knots. Your barometric pressure 1,015.3 millibars is 29.92 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Family Violence, travel, and boating forecast is still to come.
Killer toads on the loose. It's a story you'll hear on just one station. That's up next.
And Government League basketball playoff action. We've got the highlights. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.